Thank you for tuning in to another episode of My Veterans to Success podcast. You probably know by now, my mission is to help 1 million veterans and entrepreneur business owners achieve the dreams, goals, and aspirations they deserve. That is why I created the Veterans to Success podcast, because I get to interview guys, men and women, who want to share their fascinating stories with you about their time before, during, and after their time in the military, so you can benefit and overcome your challenges. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be mesmerized, astounded, and entertained. Hello and welcome to another edition of Veterans to Success, the podcast where I get to interview seemingly ordinary people with extraordinary stories. And today I'm doing something that's a little bit different because, and this will time the recording and the episode, because I'm going to let you know that today is building up to Blue Monday. Right, I'm going to be talking more about what Blue Monday is about, and this is a solo act from me today. Right, so let's have a look at things, shall we? And I'm doing something a little bit different. There may be pauses slightly along the way because I'm operating 3 separate systems today to bring this to you. So, okay, let's have a look at my mission is to inspire, educate, and motivate 1 million entrepreneurs and veterans, as you know. And what we're doing today, I've got something that's quite structured. It's about today's learning outcomes, right? Because what we're going to be looking at is discover how to combat challenges, because you know it's the new year, and by Blue Monday, right, in a few days' time, which happens to be the 3rd Monday in the month in January every year, it's when New Year's resolutions have probably failed or things aren't going so well. You're back into the swing of things, and you might be thinking, oh, same stuff, different day. Or you might be thinking, wow, this is great. I'm really happy to be doing what I'm doing. Well, you know, no matter which end of the spectrum you're at, it's about discovering how to combat challenges. So, and one thing I've learned is that learning and effort plus action gets you results, right? And every day is a school day. So what we're going to be examining today is the Blue Monday myth, the power of language, the buddy-buddy system, and how your why tops your how, right? Dead simple. Your why tops your how. And I'll be going into what I mean by this. And there's going to be times during this session today, which is special, that you're going to be looking at a question that I ask, and I'm going to ask you to pause maybe the recording that you're listening to, because I'm not going to be able to give you as much time as I would in real life, because I'm going to be moving on to the next point. But what you get the opportunity to do is pause the video. First thing I want to do, though, is I want you to consider these questions, right? Where are you now in your business or in your life in comparison to where you want to be, right? Where do you want to get to in your life or business? How do you intend to get there, right? So what do I mean by that, right? So you've decided where you are now, where you want to get to, right? So same as if you wanted to go from Land's End to John O'Groats, you could walk, you could run, you'd have to be pretty fit to run all the way. I'm not sure whether that'd be possible anyway. Or you could go in a car or a train or a plane, right? So in the sense of what we're doing today, how do you intend to get there? Who do you need to help you? Are you going to do it on your own? Are you going to do it with someone else to helping you? Are you going to do it with a team or your family and friends? When do you plan to arrive? When do you plan to arrive? See, so many people set off with big, grand ideas, maybe on the 31st of December, New Year's Eve, and you're thinking, right, I'm going to do this, and you write it all down, maybe under the influence of alcohol, and then you're not really looking at when you want to get there. So this is important as well, because the fourth point is just as important as the other three. When do you plan to arrive? Set the date, set the goal. And what's your biggest driver? What is your biggest driver? Who are you doing it for? You know, is your biggest driver for money, or is your biggest driver for a group of people, friends, a person you love? It might, or for you. You know, it's okay to have drivers for yourself, because, you know, it's like put your oxygen mask on when you're on a plane and they tell you to put your oxygen mask on. It's always your oxygen mask first, because when you're okay, you can help other people. And if there were no limits, right, and I want you to think about this, and you might want to pause this recording when you've listened to the question I want to ask. If there were no limits whatsoever, what would you want to achieve? No geographical limits, no monetary limits, nothing. Nothing could limit you. What would you want to achieve? Just have a think about that while I just take a sip of tea. Great. So I always ask the group that I run with, the mastermind and the old group, how should your successful day start? Well, when I was in the military, our successful day always started with one thing. Once I've been trained, and in basic training, right, I wondered, what are they teaching us this for? It became apparent afterwards that they taught us how to make our bed. The most successful day should start with making your bed. Now, there's a great video on YouTube. You can find Admiral William H. McRaven. Admiral William H. McRaven. And it's a film it's called Make Your Bed. So just Google that and watch that. I won't tell you what it's about. It's just a great video. You watch that and then you'll get the gist of why making your bed is really a good thing to do, because it gives you, at the end of the day, no matter what sort of day you've been through, it gives you somewhere safe to come back to. Does that make sense? Fabulous. So today's subject matter, what am I talking about? Right, I'm going to be talking about Blue Monday. Is it a myth? The power of language. What sort of language you use when you're talking to people? What do you say? How do you say it? What words do you include? The buddy system, which is great, and one of the first things I was taught in the military, and I've used it ever since in my business. The buddy system is when you're looking out for each other. But I'll come on to that a little bit more. And then finally, your why tops the how. And we'll be going into that as well. So Blue Monday, what's all that about then? Well, it's very, very simple. But before I go into that, though, I just want you to consider, what does Blue Monday mean to you? What does Blue Monday mean to you? Well, Blue Monday could mean to you a tune by New Order, which I absolutely love. And it went tops in the charts. I think it was the 80s. A fabulous tune. Blue Monday for other people mean that things aren't that great. Well, Blue Monday is the third Monday in January, right? So, and what it was actually was, it's a PR stunt, because originally it was dreamed up to sell holidays, and retailers use it to sell things to make you feel good. It is actually a myth. It's a false calculation based on things like the gloomy weather, post-Christmas debt, disappointment from not keeping your New Year's resolutions, dissatisfaction about going back to work, and general doom and gloom. Since then, it's become a rather tedious yearly PR event, often designed to promote things that are vaguely linked to improving our well-being, right? And not necessarily with a great success. And you know what, there's scientifically, because I did some research before I launched this today to talk about it, there's no scientific evidence No studies have ever backed up the claims about Blue Monday. What I can say, though, and some may say it's pointless to try and identify what the most depressing day of the year is, because it will be different for each of us. You may have a day that challenges you more than, say, I do. It could be the anniversary of a particular experience that happened. And by the way, if you feel challenged when you're listening to this, just think about contacting someone like the Samaritans, or there's lots of helplines out there where you can just get in touch. Make sure that you speak to someone. You could, in fact, just speak to a buddy, because what I want to do today is talk about how you can get successful strategies, techniques, and systems to help you feel better. And going back to the Blue Monday, it's also important to distinguish between temporary feelings. Right? When you're temporarily feeling down from time to time, that's okay, because mental health is big in the arena at the minute. So, and I think that it will be in the future, and so it should be. I can pretty much forecast from now, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, that what's going to happen. There are going to be some ups, there's going to be some downs, and there's going to be some in-between days. And it's important to look after your mental health and support each other at this time. So get yourself a buddy, and I'm going to be coming on to the buddy system pretty soon. Because by doing that, then that can really help you. And the thing is, though, what I'm going to finish with is, despite the fact that Blue Monday isn't real, there can be seasonal variations in our mental health. Some of us may experience seasonal affective disorder. This is something that can affect your mood, and it comes and goes with seasonal patterns. When it's winter, it's cold, it gets dark early. And then in summer, you can feel a lot better because, the nights are longer, it's warm. And so these seasonal changes can affect you. And actually, it's been proven that hormones can affect the impact of our sleeping and eating habits, as well as our mood. So if you ever think about that, there are steps to take when these challenges are here. And what I'd like to do is cover what you can actually do to make you feel better and protect your mental health. You can talk to people about your feelings, to someone you know, a friend, a relative. In fact, often it's better to talk to someone who isn't as connected to you as a family member. Keeping active is good. There's some great things out in the environment at the minute, talking about getting out on the hills or in the countryside and just feeling a part of the outside and nature, because that can be absolutely fantastic. So now we've set up the Blue Monday and that it's a myth, right? And it was used as a PR stunt, right? What I'd like to look at now is the power of language, because once you recognize the Blue Monday is a myth and things can go up and down throughout the year, and the future holds ups and downs, peaks and troughs, bear markets, bull markets, and it's all about getting over the challenges. Now, the first thing is language is more than just a tool, because what we're going to look at now is the power of language. Now, as I say, language is more than just a tool for communication. It's a force that shapes how we think, how we feel, and how we act. The words we choose hold the power to uplift us, discourage us, to unite or divide, to inspire or hinder progress. It's not just a reflection of our thoughts. It actively influences our mindset, emotions, and the actions we take. Can you believe that? It actually influences that many things. When we speak with intention, our language becomes a driver A driver of growth and success. It can turn obstacles into opportunities, conflicts into understandings, and aspirations into reality. When have you come across a situation where it's had that sort of effect on you? A simple shift in phrasing, such as replacing "I can't" with "I will figure it out," I can work this out, can transform the way we approach challenges and leads to new possibilities. Right. So this is absolutely magnificent. And in business relationships and personal development, language sets the tone for everything. It's the bridge between ideas, action, between vision and execution, and many, many other things. Whether it's through empowering self-talk, clear communication with others, or inspiring words that motivate a team. The power of language lies in its ability to shape outcomes and define experiences. By harnessing the power of language, right, we can unlock new potential. We can build stronger connections and create a life aligned with our goals and values. Words are not just tools, they're catalysts for transformation. What do we mean by this? Well, in a bustling design firm, for instance, let me tell you about this design firm. An urgent project was underway, right? And a new community partner had to be completed on a tight deadline. Emma, the project manager, sent an email to Liam, right? And in it, she said, "Please finalize the blueprint and send it over by Thursday." Liam read the email and assumed she meant the draft blueprint. Maybe it was a bloke thing, a man thing. So the draft blueprint he'd already shared. Confident it was sufficient, right? He made a few minor tweaks and moved on to another project. By Thursday morning, Emma, right, opened the file and was stunned. It wasn't the polished, detailed version she needed to share with the city council. Frustrated, she stormed into Liam's office. "Liam, this isn't the final blueprint. I needed the fully detailed version." "Oh, you said finalize? I thought you meant just review the draft." It became clear that the misunderstanding stemmed from a lack of specificity. Emma had assumed Liam knew she needed the complete version, while Liam thought her instructions referred to only minor adjustments. Emma took a deep breath and apologized for not being clearer. "I should have been more specific about what I needed. Let's fix this." And Liam nodded that he should have confirmed with you that it made sure and understood your expectations. So from that, they decided to create a system for future projects. Deadlines would include specific deliverables, i.e. send the final, fully detailed blueprint by Thursday, and they would hold a quick check-in meeting for major tasks to ensure alignment. By Friday, fortunately, the fully polished blueprint was completed and submitted to the council. Not only was the immediate issue resolved, but the improved communication practices prevented future mishaps, strengthening the working relationship. So what's the moral of this? Well, the moral is miscommunication often stems from assumptions. You see, clear, specific communications and proactive confirmation can prevent misunderstanding, and it leads to a better collaboration. So what I'm going to go through now is I'm going to go through the fact that there's a cumulative effect, and that is mindset and actions equal results. Now, the first one is the 10 stages is it shapes your thought. So the words you use, right, influence how you perceive situations. Positive language fosters optimism, while negative language reinforces limiting beliefs. And I want you to, as I'm going along these points, right, I want you to think about how it may have affected you in the past or how it could possibly affect you in the future. The next one is it directs focus. So what do we mean by this? Well, your choice of words, right, determines what you pay attention to. Like if you say to yourself, I can learn from this, that's positive. Whereas if you say, I failed, right, shifts your focus to not good stuff. So when you say I can learn from this, it focuses on growth rather than setbacks. And the next one, because with this next one, right, it can really prove brilliant because it reinforces identity. So what do I mean by this? Well, phrases like I am capable versus I'm just not good at this affect self-perception and confidence, shaping how you approach challenges. And this next one can really control how you feel, how stressful you are. And when you get it right, it can make you feel really great. And if you get it wrong, it can work against you because the next one is it creates emotional states. What do I mean? Well, words trigger emotional responses. Empowering language generates motivation and resilience, while critical language can lead to, guess what? Discouragement and fear. And really, that's not what you want, is it? You want stuff that's positive in your life. And the next point, right, is really important because we're talking about actions here. And the language that you use drives actions. Statements like, I will inspire, or I will inspires commitment, while I might promotes hesitation. Does that make sense? So, when you commit and say, I will do this, right, that's giving you total commitment. In fact, in many of the books that I've written, and the one that's coming out on Blue Monday, actually, as it happens, which is called the Pathfinder book, I like you to commit to reading it and taking the action. And in the Pathfinder program, the Ultimate Success System, right, one of the things that you do right at the beginning is you actually sign a contract to say that you're committing to carrying out all the work that's needed. Because when you commit to something, that means there's a much better chance of you achieving it. Does that make sense? Whereas if you say, I might read this, well, that's not going to get you there, really, is it? So your language often determines whether you act decisively or, guess what, procrastinate. And the next one is, this is a biggie, right? Have you ever wondered why that you tend to fall out with people? Because language affects relationships. Words build on a road trust, right, and connection. They encourage and empathetic language strengthens bonds. Right, I'll say that again. Right, encouraging and empathetic language strengthens bonds, while harsh or dismissive language damages them. And this is making sense to you, right? I would imagine, because you'll have had situations where you've had people who've understood a situation, maybe given you the word of encouragement, and that's really spurred you on to do great stuff. Whereas you may have had other people, maybe someone at work or in a relationship, or maybe a boss or a subordinate, and just use harsh or dismissive language, and it's not made you feel that good. And once you get to grips with this language, it can really shape your inner dialogue. What do I mean by this? Well, it means that the inner dialogue is that chimp on your shoulder, or the devil, whatever you class it as. It's the way you talk to yourself internally, and it sets the tone for how you handle stress, make decisions, and pursue goals. Like kind self-talk promotes resilience. You could be imagining the chimp on your shoulder, for instance, saying, "Oh, you can't do this," or another item, person, thing on your shoulder saying, "Yeah, you can do this. Come on, let's go." And then that promotes resilience and helps you get over stuff. a lot better than if you weren't using the correct stuff. You know, you can use all sorts of stuff, which brings me on to point 8, which is actually taking this a stage further. Because with this, language amplifies empowerment or victimhood. Right? What do I mean by this? Well, you know, empowering phrases like, what can I do to improve? Get your mind thinking along the lines of, well, how am I going to make this better? What can I actually do? And victim-orientated language such as, why does this always happen to me? Fuels helplessness. And you know, I don't know, and I'm not perfect. I'm sure that in the past I've said that, and then I've just developed this system now where I think, well, what can I do to improve? What went well? What didn't go so well? And what will help me get it better for next time? And this then creates for you outcomes. And the word you use, right, and repeated actions from habits, saying I am disciplined, builds habits of self-control, shaping your long-term results. And when you want to get positive outcomes, use positive language. And then finally, language influences others. This is especially great as a team leader, as a manager, as any sort of leader, right? And what I'd like you to do now is think about languages, how you've used language to influence others, to inspire them, motivate them, or on the other end, discourage them, because effective communication encourages collaboration and shared success. So the point being, by consciously choosing your words, you can cultivate a mindset of growth, take meaningful actions, and create positive outcomes in your life and those of others. So just have a think about what examples you have of language and how it accumulates, you know, the accumulation of language. For instance, a good communication, what examples of a good communication can you think of? What examples of a bad communication can you think of? And as I say, you can pause these while you work out. For the purpose of continuity, I'm just going to carry on with the points in a good, fast, disciplined way. And how did each instance affect the outcome? So, you know, how did a good communication affect the outcome? How did a bad communication affect the outcome? And then what causes you to think that? Because while you've been going through and thinking about the answers, what causes you to think that? What we're going to do now, so that's the communication, the power of communication. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through the magical qualities of the buddy-buddy system. Now, the buddy-buddy system in business has several magical qualities that enhance teamwork, productivity, and workplace culture. Here are the key benefits, right? What I want to do is just go through a Bright Line advertising story that I know about. And the team was preparing for the launch of a major campaign for a high-profile client, right? Alex, for the purpose of this demonstration, was a creative designer and was paired with Mia. Again, the names have been changed to protect the innocent. A marketing strategist as part of the company's newly introduced buddy-buddy system. I always find it surprising, right, how many companies do not use a buddy-buddy system as if it's a brand new thing. I used it for years. It was one of the first things that I was introduced to in the military. I think it works absolutely fantastic. So while Alex and Mia had unique skills, each of them, their roles didn't typically overlap much. And they weren't sure how this partnership would benefit the project. I'll just have a quick drink. Forgive me, I've got a bit of a sore throat. So I'll be taking some refreshments every now and again. As they started working together, Mia noticed that Alex's design drafts were visually stunning, right? They look absolutely brilliant, but lack clear alignment with the client's branding guidelines. She gently brought it up in a brainstorming session. Or are you allowed to say brainstorming now? Anyway, a mind mapping session, whatever is right for you. These look fantastic. The client emphasized the minimalist aesthetic look though. Maybe we can simplify some elements to match their vision. Initially hesitant, right, Alex realized that Mia's feedback was constructive and incorporated her suggestions. He thought, yeah, okay, that's good. Positive language, putting it across right. Meanwhile, Alex observed that Mia's marketing plan lacked the emotional appeal needed. And the emotional appeal needed to connect with the audience. So what he thought about, how do I say this? He said, Mia, your strategy is solid. What if we added some storytelling elements? It could make the campaign more engaging, much more engaging. So through ongoing collaboration, right, they found a balance between visual appeal and strategic messaging. Alex's design became more focused and aligned with the brand, while Mia's marketing plan gained emotional depth that resonated with the target audience. The outcome was brilliant because when the campaign launched, the client was thrilled, absolutely over the moon. The minimalist yet emotionally engaging approach not only impressed them, it also boosted customer engagement by a massive 40%. Compared to their previous campaigns, the Buddy Buddy system had turned two individuals with distinct skills into a cohesive, complementary team. It taught them the value of cross-discipline, collaboration, and how their unique perspectives could enhance each other's work. The moral of the story is the Buddy Buddy system fosters collaboration, it fosters constructive feedback, and it fosters mutual learning. All this put together transforms individual strengths into synergistic outcomes that exceed expectations, which is absolutely fabulous, isn't it? Right, so let's have a look at the Buddy Buddy system and its benefits. Right, first one is enhanced learning growth. What do I mean by this? Well, the enhanced learning growth is where you pair team members and allow them their knowledge to come together so they can share and mentor each other. And for new people coming into the business or less experienced employees, they can learn faster as well. And a seasoned team member reinforces their skills by teaching others, which means that everyone's getting uplifted towards a fantastic outcome. Because there's nothing better than helping someone who's experienced to become a teacher or a leader, because when they can lead someone to do something that they would not have done had that leader not been there. How fabulous is that? And the next point is accountability and motivation, right? Having a buddy, right, fosters accountability, right? People are less likely to procrastinate or disengage when they know someone else is watching on their input, right? That's really important. And the next one is, guess what this does? Because this really brings the team forward. Because it cultures, or cultivates even, improved problem solving. Collaboration between buddies brings diverse perspectives to problem solving, resulting in creative and effective cultures. And the next one is stronger workplace relationship. Stronger workplace relationship gives regular interaction between buddies, builds trust, camaraderie, and emotional support, contributing to a more cohesive team, right? Which is absolutely fabulous. Because when you've got a better team that works together, right, you can achieve much, much more because, you know, you've heard that one. What does team stand for? Together, everyone achieves more. Well, I believe also is team is together, everyone's attitude matters. Because when you've got a great team, the attitude is uplifted, the emotional well-being is uplifted, and everyone's feeling much, much better. That's from my experience. And it'd be interesting for you to think about what your experience of positive attributes of having a good buddy would mean for you. Faster onboarding. Now, this is great because, you know, when you add into your team, I remember that in the military, we called, you know, you've got that term for someone, a generic person, Joe Bloggs, right? Well, in the Royal Engineers, we're called a sapper, and the abbreviation of sapper, spelled SAPPER, is SPR. right? Now, if you put SPR and remove the BL from blogs, you've got SPROG or SPROGs, right? So a SPROG in the military is someone who's new, just the same as someone who comes into a business can be just a bit green or wet behind the ears. Back behind the ears. With a buddy system, right? You partner someone up who's more experienced with someone who's less experienced, and they can acclimatize quicker, right? When paired with a buddy who guides them through the processes, answers questions, and provides a sense of belonging. What that does as well is it engenders the development of both the experienced person who's teaching and the new person who's actually learning and becomes a sponge, if that makes sense. Because I love it when I work with my sons, and I've worked with them throughout their lives. It's always great. And any children that I work with, I go into schools teaching about money and how financial products work and how to spot financial scams as well. And it's great to see younger people just being a sponge and helping them gain knowledge. I just love that. It's a great experience. So this next one is stress reduction. Wow, how great is it to have less stress? That less stress, give me more of that. Less stress is just brilliant, because sharing challenge with a buddy, right, lightens the emotional load. Right, I remember in business where we've had a pretty open network with my team. When you share the problem, it's not just halved, it's quartered or aced or whatever, because it's not a problem anymore, because everyone is looking to help each other solve it. So you've got more than one mind working on it then. And you may have a different buddy system, or a different buddy when you're dealing with personal issues than when you're dealing with business issues. And sometimes you might not want to mix it. So that's quite all right. Because employees in a work environment feel supported and are better equipped to handle pressure when they've got the buddy system, because they know they've got someone who's watching the back, right? And what does this create? Well, it creates point 7, it's increased engagement, right? What do I mean by this? Well, when you've got a good buddy, right, it fosters a sense of belonging and connection. It can boost your morale, right? And overall job satisfaction. You don't have to feel on your own anymore. And you can share a problem to relieve stress. And then because, let me think. I remember going back to school, and this teacher said to me once, she said, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And I got this in the military as well, actually, interestingly enough. There's no such thing as a stupid question. The only stupid question there is the question you didn't ask. Because by the end of it, right, you still don't have the answer to the question. And I can bet you £1 to a penny that when you ask that question, right, and get the courage to ask that question, probably someone else in the room also wants to know the same answer, because they've got the same question. Does that make sense? This next one, as you get on a roll now, you've got to strengthen communication skills, because you know that when you're in a safe environment and a great team, you know that regular interactions improve interpersonal and communication skills, which are crucial for business success, right? And when you've got a good boss and a good team, or you're a good leader, you want to really strengthen communication skills, because that means you can achieve anything as a team. And talking about leaders, well, cultivation of leadership qualities comes in with this, because acting as a buddy provides opportunities to develop your mentoring and leadership skills in a low-risk environment. Right? I know that when I run networking, my Transformer Business Networking Club, right, I encourage people, maybe another word for that is I nominate people to do a 10-minute presentation every session. And what that does is it means that they get to discover how to do presentations for 10 minutes, develop slides if they want, or just talk about the lives not even supported by slides. What it means is they're in a safe environment where we're all acting as buddies, because we'll give constructive feedback tell them what was brilliant, and if they want to know what wasn't so good, so then by the time they do the next one, they can get even better. And guess what? Everyone is constructive with each other and helpful, because it's going to be their time at some point. They're going to have to stand up and do the presentation. So what do you want to do? You want to make sure that you're being fair and supportive, which brings me on to the last point on this. It's a supportive culture of collaboration. So what do I mean by this? Well, I've already given you the examples with the presentation, but it promotes a culture of teamwork. You know, we haven't got anyone digging you in the back or talking behind your back. It's about creating an environment where your buddies, employees naturally support and uplift one another. Because by implementing the buddy-buddy system, right, businesses and you can unlock these magical qualities to build stronger teams, nurture talent, and achieve greater success. So let's have a look at this. And I've just had a reminder there to do something. What examples do you have of a buddy-buddy system? So what examples do you have? And let's have a look at this a bit more. What examples do you have of the buddy-buddy system helping you? What examples do you have of a buddy-buddy system hindering you? Because, hey, you know what? It doesn't go right all of the time. Most of the time it does, but some of the time it doesn't. So if you look at how it hindered you, then you can have a go at doing something to make it better next time. And how did each instant affect the outcome? You know, how did the good buddy-buddy system help you affect the outcome? And how did the not so good buddy-buddy system hinder you? And then finally, what causes you to think that? Okay. Now we're going to move on to the final point, the final subject for today, and that's the secret qualities of why. And the secret qualities of why over the how. Now, before diving into this, the secret qualities of the why over the how, I just want to give you a little bit of a story to put it into context. And if you just hang on a second, I'm just going to take another little drink. Thank you. Right, so there was a village in Africa, and they had a well. The fact is, though, it was a drought-stricken village, and the people were desperate for water, and the existing well wasn't giving it. Right, so they gathered for a meeting. Right, not another meeting, you might be thinking. Yeah, well, these gathered for a meeting, debating how to solve the crisis. Suggestions poured in. You know, we could dig deeper wells, build a water pipeline, or even relocate the village, which was probably one of the most expensive ones, or time-consuming anyway. Every idea seemed overwhelming. You know, the arguments broke out over which plan was feasible, which plan wasn't feasible. And amid the chaos, an elder named Amina stood up. "Stop for a moment," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Before we figure out how to solve this, let's remind ourselves why we must." And the room grew silent. She continued, "Our children are thirsty. Our crops are dying. Our animals cannot survive without water. Our why is simple. If we do nothing, we lose everything. This isn't just about surviving. It's about protecting our future." The villagers, moved by Amina's clarity, stopped worrying about the obstacles and focused on their shared purpose. Fortunately, the how emerged. Once their why was clear, they started sharing ideas again, only this time united by a purpose, a common purpose. A young engineer in the village suggested looking for an underground water source nearby. The farmers volunteered their tools, and the labourers offered their strength. Together they dug a new well, deeper than any they had attempted before. Within days, they struck water. Cheers erupted as the villagers saw their hard work pay off. The once daunting how had become clear and achievable because their shared why gave them the determination to figure it out. Of course, the moral of this story is when your why is clear, it inspires purpose, unity, and creativity. With a strong sense of purpose, the how naturally follows as obstacles are overcome with focus and determination. And this reminds me, of course, of the phrase that I often refer to is when your why is big enough, the how will come. When your why is big enough, the how will come. So let's have a look at the 10 secrets of why, shall we? So the first one is awareness of the task. Awareness of the task is very important because this means that you can really get focused on where you want to be and know what the actual task is. And justification. What do you need it for? What do you need this why for? Because, Amina referred to the fact that we need this because our crops are not working, our animals are dying, people are going to die. So it actually goes down and gets deep into it. So that's very, very important. The next point is anxiety and guilt. If your why isn't strong enough, then it can bring all sorts of problems in with anxiety and guilt, which doesn't give you a fostering of focus on why allows you to create solutions to emerge instead of rigidly sticking to conventional methods. Individuals explore innovative approaches to fulfill purpose. And the crisis point, right? You get to this crisis point, which isn't that great. So having the why gets you to the how, so you never hit the crisis point, if that makes sense. And this next point is really important as well, because when you've got a good why, it stops last minute effort, because you've structured a plan to make sure that you do it in bite-sized chunks and segment it so the last minute effort doesn't actually turn up. And the next point is completion and relief rather than regret. Because with the why, as we saw in the villages example, where the engineer looked at building deeper well, the farmers gave their equipment and the labourers just laboured in and they all got in and stuck together to give a fantastic result in the end. Which means that the next point, which is equally important, it drives long-term impact, right? The long-term impact of finding the why, which gave the how automatically, was the long-term impact was there was water back at the village, which was absolutely fantastic. And the penultimate point encourages ownership and empowerment. So what do we mean by this? Well, encouraging empowerment and ownership means that each of in the context of the village, when people understood the why, they felt empowered to take initiative, contribute ideas, and find their own way to achieve the desired outcomes, didn't they? Because you notice that the way that the villagers was arguing at first, then once they got the why, they became focused on the bigger picture, ensuring actions lead to meaningful and sustainable events. And if we just, before I go on to the final point, if we look at the communication aspect of this, a clear why resonates with others, making it easier to inspire and rally teams, customers, or stakeholders around a shared purpose, which was certainly the case with the villagers, wasn't it? And finally, this is a big one, because when you've got the why, guess what it does? It builds trust and loyalty. And excuse me, every now and again I glance, because I'm just looking at some notes to make sure that I include everything. It builds trust and loyalty because you're all firing on from full cylinders, and you're all looking at the same purpose. So finally, what examples do you have when the why beats the how? What examples do you have? So what examples do you have when trying to find the how first has hindered you? Because you'd be looking at the detail, looking what you got to do first. Whereas, in fact, if have a look at the examples of when the why beats the how, right? Because when you've got the why, the how will come, because then you've really got the momentum, you've got the initiative, and you know why you want to do something, which gives you the drive to find the solution, because it just turns up, as I said at the beginning, where there's no problem greater than the solution, which means that how each instance affected the outcome. So how did looking for the how first affect the outcome? And how did getting the why first affect the outcome? And finally, what causes you to think that? So what causes you to think that? And we're coming to the final part now. I've really enjoyed delivering this. So why does it matter? Well, the why acts as the foundation of purpose, meaning and direction. Without it, the how becomes mechanical, uninspired, or even misguided. Focusing on why first allows for better alignment, creativity, and fulfillment in both personal and professional contexts. So again, it gives purpose, meaning, and direction. Otherwise, the how becomes mechanical, uninspired, and misguided. I just wanted to say that again because I think that's really important. And the action points for you now, finally, are master and embrace great communication techniques, because this is great for you once you do this. Find yourself an accountability partner, is what we say in business now, but actually it's the same as the buddy-buddy system. And find yourself a buddy you can confide in, count on, and co-create. So co-create projects, co-create business opportunities. You might want to do joint ventures, and then find your why, and how will come. Because once you've found your why, that is absolutely fantastic. That will enable you to do what you want when you want. And finally, how should your successful day slide? How should your successful day start even? Making your bed. Again, I'll refer to Admiral William H. McRaven, how you make your bed. And remember, to successfully become, visit joeteams.com, because on joeteams.com, you will find resources that I put together over many, many years. And it's what I want to help you with, get your goals, communicate with yourself better. And for the price of just 2 cups of coffee per month, you can get access to all of this. And just one more thing. I love the mind magic. I love the way the mind works. Just, you can close your eyes or you can keep your eyes open. Just imagine, right? You have from now on, you have a life which is full of clear communication. You've got a good buddy-buddy system. And you know exactly why you're doing it. And the Blue Monday, right, is a thing of the past. So you've got rid of the Blue Monday, the power of language you've mastered because you can listen to this over and over again. And each time you listen to it, you'll get a different answer, I'm pretty sure. You've got the power of language that you use on a daily basis, and you recognize the power of the buddy-buddy system and how it can help you. And finally, when the why is found, when you find your why, right, the how will come, because there's no problem greater than the solution. So finally, that's me. I've really enjoyed delivering today's episode. It was a one-to-one with me and you. And until we meet again, I'd like to wish you a brilliant day. Thank you. JoelTeams.com is a resource I have created to fulfill my mission to help 1 million veterans and business entrepreneurs like you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations they deserve. JoelTeams.com is jam-packed full of valuable resources specifically designed to help you on your journey to success. Visit JoelTeams.com now to find out how you can join and start your journey to success immediately. That's JoelTeams.com, JoelTeams, JoelTeams.com. And until we meet again, have a brilliant day.